The Roman Empire at its height was a marvel of human civilization that stretched across 3 continents, encompassing a territory so vast that it would take months to travel from one end to the other. This was the era of the Pax Romana, a time when Roman peace and prosperity reached its zenith under emperors like Trajan, Hadrian, and Marcus Aurelius. The empire extended from the windswept hills of northern Britain to the sun-baked deserts of Egypt, from the Atlantic shores of Portugal to the fertile valleys of modern-day Iraq. In this remarkable period, roughly from 96 to 180 CE, the empire housed approximately 60 million souls, each living their daily lives within the embrace of Roman law, Roman architecture, and Roman culture. The morning sun would rise over countless Roman cities, each one a testament to the engineering prowess and organizational genius that had made Rome the undisputed master of the Mediterranean world and beyond. Life during this golden age moved at a rhythm dictated by the natural cycles of day and night, the changing seasons, and the reliable patterns of Roman society. There were no mechanical clocks to hurry people along, no constant noise of machinery, no artificial lights to extend the day beyond its natural boundaries. Instead, the day began with the gradual lightening of the sky, the first calls of birds, and the gentle stirring of household activities as servants prepared for another day in service to their Roman masters. The typical Roman villa, whether nestled in the rolling hills outside Rome or perched on a cliff overlooking the Mediterranean, was designed as a sanctuary of comfort and contemplation. These homes were not merely places to sleep and eat, but carefully crafted environments where every element served both practical and aesthetic purposes. The rooms were arranged around courtyards that brought light and air into the interior spaces, creating a sense of openness and connection with nature even within the confines of urban living. Roman society was built upon traditions that had been refined over centuries, creating a stable framework within which daily life could unfold with predictable rhythms. The Roman calendar was filled with festivals and observances that marked the passage of time and provided occasions for community gathering, religious devotion, and cultural expression. These celebrations were not hurried affairs but elaborate, multi-day events that allowed people to step away from their routine responsibilities and immerse themselves in the shared cultural heritage that bound the empire together. The architecture of Roman buildings reflected this same commitment to permanence and beauty. Massive stone blocks were cut and fitted with such precision that many Roman structures still stand today, nearly 2,000 years later. The walls were thick enough to provide excellent insulation against both heat and cold, creating interior spaces that remained comfortable regardless of the weather outside. The floors were often covered with intricate mosaics that told stories or depicted scenes from nature, providing visual interest and a sense of artistic refinement. Roman homes typically included private chambers designed specifically for rest and contemplation. These rooms were furnished with comfortable couches covered in soft fabrics, small tables for holding oil lamps and personal belongings, and niches in the walls for storing scrolls or small decorative objects. The walls themselves might be painted with peaceful scenes of gardens, pastoral landscapes, or mythological themes that encouraged the mind to wander into realms of imagination and tranquility. The Roman approach to daily life emphasized balance and moderation in all things. This philosophy, influenced by both Stoic and Epicurean thought, encouraged people to find contentment in simple pleasures while maintaining dignity and self-control in their interactions with others. Romans believed that true happiness came not from the accumulation of wealth or power, but from living in harmony with nature, fulfilling one's duties to family and society, and cultivating inner peace through philosophical reflection. Transportation throughout the empire relied on an extensive network of roads that were marvels of engineering in their own right. These roads were built to last for centuries, with foundations of large stones, layers of smaller rocks and gravel, and smooth paved surfaces that allowed for comfortable travel even in wheeled vehicles. The famous saying that all roads led to Rome was quite literally true, as the road system was designed to facilitate communication and trade between the capital and the farthest reaches of the empire. Roman society was structured in a way that provided clear roles and expectations for everyone, from the highest-ranking senators to the humblest slaves. While this system may seem rigid by modern standards, it actually provided a sense of security and purpose that allowed people to understand their place in the world and work toward clearly defined goals. Social mobility was possible through military service, successful business ventures, or demonstration of exceptional skills in areas like law, medicine, or engineering. The Roman approach to education emphasized rhetoric, philosophy, and practical skills that would prepare young people for active participation in civic life. Students learned to read and write in both Latin and Greek, studied the works of great poets and historians, and practiced the art of public speaking that was so essential to success in Roman society. This educational system produced generations of leaders who shared common cultural references and values, helping to maintain unity across the vast expanse of the empire. Roman religious practices were woven seamlessly into daily life, with household gods watching over domestic activities, public temples serving as centers for community worship, and seasonal festivals marking the agricultural cycle that sustained the population. These religious observances were generally peaceful affairs that emphasized gratitude for the blessings of life rather than fear of divine punishment, creating an atmosphere of reverence and appreciation that permeated all aspects of Roman culture. As dawn breaks over the 7 hills of Rome, the greatest city the world has ever known begins to stir with the gentle rhythms of another day in the heart of the empire. The morning light filters through the narrow windows of countless buildings, casting long shadows across the cobblestone streets that have been worn smooth by the passage of millions of feet over the centuries. This is Rome at its absolute peak, a city of perhaps 1 million inhabitants, making it by far the largest urban center anywhere in the world during this golden age of human civilization. The approach to Rome from any direction is a gradual revelation of grandeur that unfolds slowly as one travels along the perfectly engineered Roman roads. Miles before reaching the city walls, travelers begin to encounter the suburban villas of wealthy Romans, elegant country homes surrounded by gardens and vineyards that provide a peaceful retreat from the bustle of urban life. These villas are masterpieces of architectural harmony, with their red-tiled roofs, cream-colored walls, and perfectly proportioned columns that speak to the Roman genius for combining beauty with functionality. The countryside around Rome is a patchwork of cultivated fields, olive groves, and pastures where sheep and cattle graze peacefully under the watchful eyes of shepherds who have been following the same seasonal patterns for generations. The land itself seems to breathe with contentment, blessed by the Mediterranean climate that provides mild winters and warm, dry summers perfect for growing the crops that feed the massive population of the capital city. As one draws closer to Rome, the traffic on the roads begins to increase, but this is not the frantic rush of modern transportation. Instead, there is a stately procession of ox-drawn carts carrying goods to market, elegant carriages transporting wealthy citizens, and pedestrians walking at a leisurely pace that allows for conversation and observation of the passing scenery. The sound of wheels on stone creates a rhythmic backdrop that mingles with the calls of birds and the distant lowing of cattle to create a symphony of peaceful rural life. The walls of Rome, when they finally come into view, are an impressive sight that never fails to inspire awe even in those who have seen them many times before. These massive fortifications stretch as far as the eye can see, built of enormous blocks of travertine limestone that glow golden in the morning sun. The walls are punctuated by gates that serve as grand entrances to the city, each one decorated with statues and inscriptions that proclaim the glory and power of Rome to all who pass beneath them. Passing through one of these gates is like entering another world, a carefully planned urban environment where every street and building has been positioned with deliberate intention to create maximum efficiency and beauty. The streets themselves are paved with blocks of volcanic stone that have been fitted together so precisely that they form an almost perfectly smooth surface. These roads are designed with a slight crown in the center that allows rainwater to flow into gutters along the sides, where it is channeled into an elaborate system of sewers that carry waste away from the city and into the Tiber River. The buildings that line these streets represent every level of Roman society, from the modest apartments where working families make their homes to the grand palatial residences of senators and other high-ranking officials. Even the humblest structures show evidence of the Roman commitment to quality construction, with thick stone walls, sturdy wooden beams, and tile roofs that can withstand the occasional Mediterranean storms that bring welcome relief from the summer heat. Roman neighborhoods are organized around the concept of the insula, multi-story apartment buildings that house dozens of families in comfortable proximity to one another. These buildings are typically 3 or 4 stories high, with shops and workshops occupying the ground floor while residential units fill the upper levels. The courtyards at the center of each insula provide light and air to the interior apartments while also serving as gathering places where neighbors can meet and children can play safely away from the traffic of the streets. The Forum, the heart of Roman civic life, begins to come alive in the early morning hours as merchants set up their stalls and citizens begin to gather for the day's business and social activities. This vast open space, surrounded by temples, basilicas, and government buildings, serves as both the commercial and political center of the empire. The Forum is paved with smooth marble that reflects the morning light, creating an almost ethereal atmosphere that seems to elevate even the most mundane activities to a level of dignified importance. Roman temples, scattered throughout the city, provide focal points for religious observance and community gathering. These buildings are designed according to principles that have been refined over centuries, with perfectly proportioned columns supporting roofs that seem to float effortlessly above the sacred spaces below. The interior of a Roman temple is typically dim and cool, providing a welcome respite from the warmth and brightness of the streets outside. The walls are often decorated with frescoes depicting scenes from mythology or nature, while niches hold statues of gods and goddesses carved from the finest marble. Public baths, one of the most distinctive features of Roman urban life, offer facilities for bathing, exercise, and social interaction that are available to citizens of all social classes. These buildings are marvels of engineering, with sophisticated heating systems that warm the water and the floors, creating an environment of luxurious comfort that encourages relaxation and conversation. The baths are typically open from early morning until late afternoon, providing a daily ritual that combines physical cleansing with social bonding. Roman gardens, whether public parks or private courtyards, represent the empire's commitment to bringing nature into urban spaces. These carefully designed landscapes feature geometrically arranged plantings of roses, lavender, and other flowering plants, interspersed with fountains and statues that create focal points for contemplation and aesthetic enjoyment. The sound of flowing water from these fountains provides a constant, soothing background that helps to mask the noise of the city while creating an atmosphere of tranquility and peace. The aqueducts that bring fresh water to Rome from springs in the distant hills are among the greatest engineering achievements of the ancient world. These massive stone structures cross valleys and hills with graceful arches that seem to defy gravity, carrying millions of gallons of pure, cold water to the fountains and baths of the capital city. The sight of these aqueducts stretching across the landscape is a constant reminder of Roman ingenuity and the empire's ability to harness natural resources for the benefit of its citizens. Roman markets offer an abundance of goods from every corner of the empire and beyond, creating a cosmopolitan atmosphere that reflects the truly international character of the capital city. Merchants display their wares under colorful awnings that provide shade from the sun while creating an atmosphere of festival and celebration. The air is filled with the aromas of exotic spices, fresh bread, and ripe fruits, while the calls of vendors advertising their goods create a cheerful cacophony that speaks to the prosperity and vitality of Roman commercial life. The transition into the contemplative rhythms of Roman daily life begins as the morning sun climbs higher over the eternal city, casting shifting patterns of light and shadow through the columns and porticos that define the architectural landscape of the empire's greatest urban achievement. Roman life moves according to natural cycles that have been refined by centuries of cultural development, creating a society where every activity has its proper time and place within the larger framework of civilized existence. Roman homes are designed as sanctuaries of comfort and tranquility, with each room serving specific purposes that support the various activities of daily life. The atrium, the central hall of a typical Roman house, is a space of gracious proportions that serves as both a reception area for guests and a gathering place for family members. The opening in the roof, called the compluvium, allows rainwater to collect in a shallow pool below while providing natural light that illuminates the space throughout the day. The walls around the atrium are often decorated with painted scenes of gardens or distant landscapes, creating the illusion of being surrounded by nature even within the confines of an urban dwelling. The tablinum, a formal reception room that opens off the atrium, serves as the master's office and the ceremonial heart of the household. This room is typically furnished with comfortable chairs arranged around a central table, creating an intimate space for conducting business or entertaining important guests. The walls might display family portraits, maps of the empire, or collections of scrolls that reflect the owner's interests and accomplishments. During the warm afternoon hours, the tablinum becomes a cool retreat where one can escape the heat of the day while remaining connected to the activities of the household. Roman bedrooms, called cubicula, are designed as private retreats where individuals can withdraw from the social demands of daily life and find peace in solitude and contemplation. These rooms are typically furnished with comfortable beds that are raised off the floor on sturdy wooden frames, allowing air to circulate underneath while providing additional storage space for personal belongings. The mattresses are stuffed with wool or feathers and covered with soft linens that are changed regularly by household servants who take pride in maintaining the highest standards of cleanliness and comfort. The walls of Roman bedrooms are often painted in soothing colors like soft blues, gentle greens, or warm earth tones that create an atmosphere of tranquility and rest. Decorative elements might include painted garlands of flowers, scenes of peaceful countryside, or geometric patterns that please the eye without being overly stimulating. Small niches in the walls hold oil lamps that provide gentle illumination during the evening hours, while wooden shutters can be closed to block out light during afternoon rest periods. Roman furniture is crafted with the same attention to quality and durability that characterizes all aspects of Roman material culture. Tables are made from solid wood with elegant turned legs that provide both stability and visual appeal. Chairs are designed with curved backs and padded seats that offer comfort during extended periods of sitting, whether for business discussions, literary pursuits, or simple relaxation. Storage chests are built to last for generations, with sturdy construction and beautiful decorative details that make them as pleasing to look at as they are functional to use. The Roman approach to domestic organization emphasizes efficiency and beauty in equal measure, with every object having its designated place and purpose within the household hierarchy. Servants are trained to maintain their assigned areas with meticulous care, ensuring that fresh flowers are placed in the appropriate vases, that oil lamps are filled and trimmed regularly, and that all surfaces are kept clean and polished. This attention to detail creates an environment where the physical surroundings support and enhance the pursuit of intellectual and spiritual development. Roman gardens, whether grand estates or modest courtyards, represent the empire's sophisticated understanding of landscape design and its ability to create spaces that nourish both body and soul. These outdoor areas are typically organized around geometric principles that create visual harmony while providing practical benefits like shade, windbreaks, and efficient irrigation. Pathways are laid out in patterns that encourage leisurely strolling and contemplation, with strategically placed benches and alcoves that offer opportunities for rest and reflection. The plants chosen for Roman gardens reflect both aesthetic preferences and practical considerations, with fruit trees providing shade and nourishment, herbs offering medicinal benefits and culinary enhancement, and flowers contributing color and fragrance that appeal to the senses. Rose gardens are particularly popular among wealthy Romans, with carefully tended beds of various species that bloom throughout the growing season, providing a constant source of beauty and sweet perfume that enhances the enjoyment of outdoor activities. Water features in Roman gardens serve both practical and aesthetic purposes, with fountains and pools providing the soothing sound of flowing water while also offering opportunities for reflection and contemplation. These water elements are often designed with sophisticated engineering that allows for constant circulation, preventing stagnation while creating the gentle gurgling sounds that mask urban noise and create an atmosphere of natural tranquility. The sight of water reflecting the sky and surrounding vegetation adds another dimension of beauty to the garden environment. Roman meal times are structured as social events that bring family members together for shared experiences of nourishment and conversation. The morning meal, called ientaculum, is typically a light affair consisting of bread with honey or cheese, perhaps accompanied by fresh fruit or olives. This simple breakfast is usually consumed in the atrium or garden, where the fresh morning air and natural light create an agreeable setting for beginning the day with quiet conversation and gentle sustenance. The midday meal, known as prandium, is served during the hottest part of the day when outdoor activities become uncomfortable and Romans traditionally retreat indoors for rest and refreshment. This meal is somewhat more substantial than breakfast but still relatively simple, perhaps featuring bread, cheese, eggs, and wine mixed with water. The emphasis is on foods that provide energy without creating the heavy feeling that might interfere with afternoon rest or contemplation. The main meal of the day, called cena, is served in the late afternoon when the heat begins to subside and family members gather to share the experiences and accomplishments of their day. This meal is prepared with greater care and attention, featuring multiple courses that showcase the abundance and variety of foods available throughout the empire. The dining room, or triclinium, is arranged with couches that allow diners to recline comfortably while servants present each course in carefully choreographed sequences that turn the meal into a form of entertainment and social bonding. Roman clothing reflects the empire's commitment to dignity and appropriate presentation in all social situations. The basic garment for both men and women is the tunic, a simple rectangular piece of fabric that is draped and fastened in ways that create both comfort and elegance. Over this foundation, additional layers are added according to the weather, the occasion, and the social status of the wearer. The toga, worn by Roman citizens on formal occasions, is a masterpiece of practical design that creates an impressive appearance while allowing for freedom of movement and natural cooling. The fabrics used for Roman clothing are produced throughout the empire, with different regions specializing in particular types of materials that reflect local resources and traditional skills. Linen from Egypt provides lightweight comfort during the warm months, while wool from various provinces offers warmth and durability for cooler weather. Silk imported from distant lands adds luxury and beauty to special garments, while cotton from various sources provides everyday comfort and practicality. Roman households operate according to established routines that provide structure and predictability while allowing for flexibility in response to changing circumstances. Servants rise before dawn to begin their daily tasks, lighting fires, preparing food, and cleaning the living spaces before the family members begin their day. This careful preparation ensures that everything is ready for the comfort and convenience of the household, creating an atmosphere of order and tranquility that supports the pursuit of higher activities. The gentle progression of a Roman day unfolds according to rhythms that have been perfected over generations, creating an environment where each activity flows naturally into the next without the harsh interruptions that characterize modern life. As the morning advances toward midday, the household settles into patterns of activity that balance productivity with contemplation, duty with pleasure, and individual pursuits with social engagement in ways that nourish both body and spirit. The Roman understanding of time is fundamentally different from our modern conception, built around natural cycles rather than mechanical measurements. The day is divided into 12 hours that vary in length according to the season, with summer hours being longer than winter hours to accommodate the changing patterns of daylight. This flexible approach to time creates a more relaxed atmosphere where activities can expand or contract naturally according to need and inclination rather than being forced into rigid schedules that ignore the body's natural rhythms and preferences. Roman libraries, whether public institutions or private collections, serve as centers of learning and contemplation where citizens can pursue intellectual development and spiritual growth. These spaces are designed with the same attention to comfort and beauty that characterizes all Roman architecture, with comfortable seating areas, excellent natural lighting, and carefully controlled temperature and humidity that protect the precious scrolls and codices while creating an environment conducive to sustained reading and study. The arrangement of a Roman library reflects the empire's sophisticated understanding of how physical spaces can support intellectual activity. Reading areas are positioned to take advantage of natural light while avoiding direct sunlight that might damage the texts or create glare that strains the eyes. Comfortable chairs and reading tables are placed at appropriate intervals to provide privacy for individual study while allowing for casual interaction and discussion among scholars and students who share similar interests. Roman scrolls are works of art in their own right, carefully prepared from papyrus or parchment and inscribed with beautiful calligraphy that makes the act of reading a visual pleasure as well as an intellectual exercise. The text is arranged in columns that flow smoothly from one section to the next, with decorative elements and illustrations that enhance the reader's understanding and enjoyment of the material. The physical act of unrolling a scroll and following the text from beginning to end creates a sense of journey and discovery that adds another dimension to the reading experience. Roman writing implements are designed with the same attention to quality and beauty that characterizes all aspects of Roman material culture. Styluses for writing on wax tablets are crafted from bone, metal, or ivory with elegant proportions that make them comfortable to hold during extended writing sessions. Reed pens for writing on papyrus are carefully cut and shaped to provide smooth, consistent strokes that create beautiful lettering. Inkwells are designed as small works of art, often decorated with scenes or patterns that reflect the owner's personal taste and cultural sophistication. The Roman approach to personal hygiene emphasizes both physical cleanliness and spiritual purification, with daily bathing rituals that serve as transitions between different phases of the day. The private bath area of a Roman home typically includes facilities for both hot and cold water, allowing for a gradual process of warming and cooling that promotes circulation and relaxation. The ritual of bathing is not hurried but approached as an opportunity for meditation and self-reflection, with scented oils and soft towels adding elements of luxury and sensual pleasure. Roman clothing is changed regularly throughout the day to maintain comfort and appropriate appearance for different activities and social situations. The morning tunic might be simple and practical for household duties, while afternoon garments are more elegant and decorative for social interactions. Evening clothes are often the most elaborate, with rich fabrics and beautiful colors that reflect the importance of the evening meal and family gathering time. This attention to appropriate dress creates a sense of ceremony and respect for each phase of the day's activities. Roman recreational activities are designed to provide both entertainment and personal development, with games and sports that challenge the mind and body while fostering social connections and friendly competition. Board games like Ludus Latrunculorum require strategic thinking and patience, encouraging players to develop skills that are useful in other areas of life. Physical activities like swimming and walking provide exercise and relaxation while allowing for conversation and observation of the natural world. The Roman villa's peristyle garden serves as an outdoor room where household members can engage in various activities while enjoying the benefits of fresh air and natural beauty. This covered walkway, surrounded by columns and open to the sky in the center, provides protection from both sun and rain while creating a sense of connection with the outdoors. The space is typically furnished with comfortable seating and small tables that can be used for reading, writing, dining, or simply relaxing in the peaceful atmosphere. Roman music, whether performed by household slaves or visiting musicians, provides a soundtrack for daily life that enhances the emotional and aesthetic quality of ordinary activities. The gentle sounds of lyres, flutes, and soft percussion create an atmosphere of refinement and culture that elevates even routine tasks to a level of artistic expression. Musical performances during meal times or evening gatherings provide entertainment while also serving as focal points for family bonding and cultural education. Roman religious observances are integrated seamlessly into daily life, with household shrines that serve as centers for personal devotion and family rituals. These sacred spaces, called lauraria, typically contain images of the household gods and ancestors who watch over the family's welfare and prosperity. Daily offerings of food, wine, or incense are made with reverence and gratitude, creating moments of spiritual connection that anchor the day's activities in larger cosmic rhythms and divine protection. The Roman understanding of education extends far beyond formal schooling to include all aspects of cultural transmission and personal development. Children learn through observation and participation in adult activities, gradually absorbing the values, skills, and knowledge that will enable them to take their place as productive members of society. This informal educational process continues throughout life, with adults constantly refining their understanding of literature, philosophy, politics, and practical skills through reading, discussion, and direct experience. Roman artistic appreciation encompasses all aspects of visual and auditory beauty, from the architectural elements that define living spaces to the decorative objects that enhance daily activities. Household members develop sophisticated aesthetic sensibilities through constant exposure to beautiful forms, colors, textures, and sounds that reflect the empire's commitment to cultural excellence. This artistic education creates individuals who are capable of finding beauty and meaning in even the simplest aspects of everyday life. Roman social interactions are governed by elaborate codes of courtesy and respect that create an atmosphere of dignity and mutual consideration in all relationships. These social protocols are not rigid rules but flexible guidelines that can be adapted to different situations while maintaining the underlying principles of honor, loyalty, and community responsibility. The result is a society where individuals feel secure in their social roles while having opportunities for personal expression and individual achievement. Roman agricultural practices, even within urban settings, reflect the empire's deep connection to the land and the natural cycles that sustain human life. Urban gardens and small farms within the city boundaries provide fresh produce while also offering opportunities for physical activity and connection with natural processes. The seasonal rhythms of planting, cultivation, and harvest create a temporal framework that connects urban dwellers with the larger agricultural cycles that support the empire's prosperity and stability. Roman astronomical observations, whether conducted by professional scholars or interested amateurs, provide both practical benefits and intellectual stimulation that enhance understanding of humanity's place within the cosmic order. The movements of sun, moon, and stars create natural calendars that guide agricultural activities and religious observances while also inspiring philosophical reflections on the nature of time, causation, and divine purpose. As the Roman day progresses toward its contemplative heart, the afternoon hours bring a natural slowing of pace that allows for deeper reflection and more sustained engagement with the philosophical and spiritual dimensions of existence. This is the time when Romans traditionally withdraw from the more active pursuits of morning and early afternoon to seek inner peace and wisdom through meditation, study, and quiet communion with the enduring truths that give meaning to human life. The Roman concept of odium, or contemplative leisure, represents one of the highest achievements of their civilization, recognizing that true prosperity must include not only material abundance but also the time and space necessary for intellectual and spiritual development. During these afternoon hours, the wise Roman sets aside the practical concerns of business and household management to pursue those activities that nourish the soul and expand the mind, creating a daily rhythm that balances action with reflection in harmonious proportion. Roman philosophical schools, whether Stoic, Epicurean, or academic, all emphasize the importance of regular contemplative practice as the foundation for wisdom and virtue. These traditions teach that true happiness comes not from external circumstances but from inner peace and understanding that can only be developed through consistent mental discipline and spiritual exercise. The afternoon hours provide ideal opportunities for such practice, when the mind is alert but not driven by the urgencies of morning tasks or evening social obligations. The Roman approach to philosophical contemplation is essentially practical, focusing on how ancient wisdom can be applied to the challenges and opportunities of daily life. Rather than abstract theorizing, Roman philosophy emphasizes the development of character and the cultivation of virtues like courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom that enable individuals to live well regardless of their external circumstances. This practical orientation makes philosophical study a source of genuine guidance and comfort rather than mere intellectual entertainment. Roman meditation practices, influenced by both indigenous traditions and Greek philosophical techniques, provide structured methods for achieving mental clarity and emotional equilibrium. These practices might include focused attention on breathing patterns, contemplation of natural phenomena like flowing water or growing plants, or systematic reflection on philosophical principles and their application to personal experience. The goal is not escape from reality but deeper engagement with the essential truths that underlie all experience. The Roman understanding of memory as a foundation for wisdom leads to sophisticated techniques for preserving and organizing knowledge that can be accessed during contemplative practice. The method of loci, or memory palace technique, allows practitioners to store vast amounts of information in mental structures that can be explored and revisited like familiar buildings. This mental architecture becomes a resource for contemplation, providing ready access to philosophical insights, poetic images, and practical wisdom accumulated over years of study and reflection. Roman literary traditions provide rich resources for contemplative practice, with works by poets like Virgil and Ovid offering layers of meaning that reward careful study and reflection. The process of memorizing and reciting great poetry creates a form of meditation that engages both intellect and emotion, allowing the reader to internalize profound insights about human nature, divine purpose, and the relationship between individual experience and cosmic order. These literary meditations become personal resources that can be drawn upon during times of difficulty or uncertainty. Roman artistic contemplation extends beyond mere aesthetic appreciation to include deeper reflection on the principles of harmony, proportion, and beauty that govern both artistic creation and natural phenomena. The study of architectural forms, sculptural techniques, and decorative patterns becomes a pathway to understanding the mathematical and philosophical principles that create order and meaning in the physical world. This artistic meditation connects the individual consciousness with universal truths about form, function, and beauty. Roman gardens serve as outdoor temples where contemplative practice can be enhanced by direct contact with natural phenomena that embody philosophical principles in living form. The seasonal cycles of growth, flowering, fruiting, and dormancy provide constant reminders of the temporal nature of all experience while also demonstrating the eternal principles that govern natural processes. Time spent in garden contemplation becomes a form of practical philosophy that teaches patience, acceptance, and appreciation for the subtle beauties that surround us constantly. Roman astronomical observations, conducted during evening hours when the stars become visible, provide opportunities for contemplating humanity's place within the vast cosmic order. The regular movements of celestial bodies create a sense of stability and predictability that offers comfort during times of personal or social uncertainty, while the immensity of the star-filled sky inspires humility and wonder that put daily concerns into proper perspective. These astronomical meditations connect individual consciousness with the largest possible context for human existence. Roman thermal baths provide ideal settings for contemplative practice, with their combination of physical relaxation and social isolation creating conditions that naturally encourage introspection and meditation. The gradual progression through pools of different temperatures creates a physical rhythm that can support mental and spiritual exercises, while the soothing sounds of flowing water and the gentle warmth of heated chambers create an atmosphere of peace and comfort that facilitates deeper states of consciousness. Roman religious practices, whether traditional observances or newer mystery religions, provide structured pathways for spiritual development and divine communion that complement philosophical contemplation. These practices typically include elements of purification, offering, prayer, and meditation that create sacred time and space within the ordinary flow of daily activities. The goal is not mere ritual observance but genuine transformation of consciousness that brings the practitioner into closer alignment with divine will and cosmic order. Roman architectural spaces are specifically designed to support contemplative activities, with proportions and decorative elements that create psychological conditions conducive to reflection and meditation. The interplay of light and shadow throughout the day creates constantly changing visual environments that inspire different moods and mental states, while the substantial construction and permanent materials create a sense of stability and continuity that supports sustained contemplative practice. Roman music theory, based on mathematical principles that connect musical harmony with cosmic order, provides another pathway for contemplative practice through both active participation and passive listening. The study of musical intervals and their relationships reveals universal principles of proportion and harmony that apply to all aspects of natural and human experience, while the practice of singing or playing instruments creates direct experiential knowledge of these principles through physical participation in their expression. Roman dietary practices during contemplative periods emphasize foods that support mental clarity and spiritual sensitivity while avoiding those that create physical discomfort or mental agitation. Simple, fresh foods prepared with minimal processing are preferred, along with moderate consumption of wine mixed with water that relaxes the body without clouding the mind. The timing and manner of eating become elements of contemplative practice, with attention to gratitude, moderation, and mindful appreciation of the sensory qualities of food. Roman textile arts, including weaving, dyeing, and embroidery, provide opportunities for meditative practice through repetitive activities that engage the hands while freeing the mind for contemplation. The rhythmic motions involved in these crafts create natural breathing patterns that support deeper states of consciousness, while the gradual creation of beautiful objects provides tangible evidence of the transformative power of sustained attention and patient effort. Roman correspondence practices, including both personal letters and formal documents, become forms of contemplative writing that clarify thought and feeling through the discipline of clear expression. The process of composing letters to friends or family members creates opportunities for reflecting on personal experience and relationships, while the study of literary models provides examples of elegant expression that inspire both aesthetic appreciation and practical skill development. Roman seasonal observances create natural frameworks for contemplative practice that connect personal spiritual development with the larger rhythms of natural and social life. Each season brings its own opportunities for reflection and renewal, with spring inspiring hope and new beginnings, summer encouraging fruition and abundance, autumn teaching acceptance and gratitude, and winter providing opportunities for inner reflection and spiritual preparation for the coming year. The profound stillness of the Roman afternoon settles over the villa like a gentle benediction, creating an atmosphere of sacred time that seems to exist outside the ordinary flow of temporal concerns. This is the hour when shadows grow longer and the light becomes softer, filtering through the columns of the peristyle in patterns that shift almost imperceptibly as the sun continues its eternal journey across the Mediterranean sky. In this suspended moment, the soul finds its natural rhythm, synchronized with the deeper currents that flow beneath the surface of daily life. Roman wisdom traditions recognize this afternoon period as particularly favorable for the deepest forms of contemplative practice, when the mind has been clarified by morning activities but has not yet been captured by evening social obligations. The body, relaxed by the warmth of the day and perhaps refreshed by a visit to the thermal baths, becomes a willing partner in the exploration of inner landscapes that reveal themselves only in conditions of perfect tranquility and patient attention. The Roman understanding of consciousness as a microcosm of cosmic order provides a framework for contemplative practice that connects personal spiritual development with universal principles of harmony and proportion. Through careful observation of their own mental and emotional processes, Romans learned to recognize the same patterns of growth, change, and renewal that govern all natural phenomena, from the cycles of vegetation in their gardens to the movements of celestial bodies across the star-filled sky. Roman architectural spaces during these contemplative hours become temples of inner exploration, with their carefully calculated proportions and harmonious relationships creating psychological conditions that naturally support deeper states of awareness. The interplay of horizontal and vertical elements in Roman design reflects the balance between earthly concerns and heavenly aspirations that characterizes the fully developed human consciousness, while the use of natural materials like stone, wood, and clay creates a sense of organic connection with the fundamental elements of creation. The Roman practice of philosophical reading during these afternoon hours involves much more than intellectual analysis or information gathering. Instead, it becomes a form of spiritual communion with the great minds of the past, allowing their wisdom to penetrate gradually into the reader's consciousness through repeated encounter and patient reflection. The physical act of unrolling a papyrus scroll becomes a metaphor for the gradual unveiling of truth, while the beautiful calligraphy and decorative elements create visual rhythms that support sustained attention and aesthetic appreciation. Roman meditation techniques, refined through centuries of practice and philosophical development, provide systematic methods for exploring the deeper dimensions of consciousness that are normally obscured by the constant activity of ordinary mental processes. These techniques might include focused concentration on a single object or idea, careful observation of breathing patterns and their effects on mental states, or contemplative visualization of peaceful scenes that create inner conditions of stability and joy. The Roman garden during these contemplative hours becomes a living mandala, a sacred space where every element contributes to an overall pattern of meaning and beauty that supports spiritual development and insight. The geometric arrangement of plantings reflects cosmic principles of order and harmony, while the seasonal changes in vegetation provide constant reminders of the temporal nature of all phenomena and the eternal principles that underlie apparent change and transformation. Roman thermal experiences, whether in private household facilities or public bath complexes, create opportunities for contemplative practice that combines physical purification with spiritual renewal. The gradual warming and cooling of the body in different thermal environments produces altered states of consciousness that can be used for deeper exploration of mental and emotional patterns, while the social isolation possible in these settings allows for uninterrupted periods of inner reflection and meditation. Roman religious contemplation during these afternoon hours might focus on the household shrine, where images of gods and ancestors provide focal points for reflection on the spiritual dimensions of family life and personal destiny. The practice of making simple offerings of flowers, food, or incense becomes a form of active meditation that connects the practitioner with divine sources of guidance and protection, while the repetition of traditional prayers creates rhythmic patterns that support deeper states of spiritual receptivity. Roman artistic contemplation extends beyond mere aesthetic appreciation to include active participation in creative processes that reveal the underlying principles of beauty and harmony. Whether through drawing, painting, sculpture, or music, Romans discover that artistic creation becomes a pathway to understanding the cosmic principles that govern all manifestation, while the development of artistic skills provides tangible evidence of the human capacity for transformation and growth. Roman astronomical contemplation during evening hours, when the stars become visible in the darkening sky, provides opportunities for reflecting on the vast scales of space and time that dwarf individual concerns while simultaneously revealing the mathematical precision and purposeful design that characterize the universe as a whole. These cosmic meditations inspire both humility and wonder, creating psychological conditions that naturally lead to deeper appreciation for the mystery and beauty of existence. Roman dietary practices during contemplative periods emphasize not only the selection of appropriate foods but also mindful attention to the entire process of nourishment, from grateful acknowledgement of the earth's abundance to careful appreciation of flavors, textures, and aromas that connect the body with natural cycles of growth and harvest. This contemplative approach to eating becomes a form of communion with the natural world that supports both physical health and spiritual development. Roman textile contemplation, whether through the creation of beautiful fabrics or the mindful appreciation of existing garments, provides opportunities for reflecting on the transformation of raw materials into objects of beauty and utility through patient skill and artistic vision. The repetitive motions involved in weaving, spinning, and embroidery create natural rhythms that support meditative states, while the gradual emergence of patterns and designs demonstrates the creative power of sustained attention and purposeful activity. Roman correspondence during contemplative periods becomes a form of spiritual practice that clarifies thought and feeling through the discipline of articulate expression. The process of composing letters to distant friends or family members creates opportunities for reviewing personal experience and relationships, while the study of literary models provides inspiration for both practical communication and artistic expression that enriches the writer's understanding of language and human nature. Roman seasonal awareness during these contemplative hours includes sensitive attention to the subtle changes in light, temperature, and natural phenomena that mark the passage of time and the eternal return of cosmic cycles. Each season brings its own spiritual teachings and opportunities for growth, with spring inspiring renewal and hope, summer encouraging fruition and abundance, autumn teaching acceptance and gratitude, and winter providing opportunities for inner reflection and spiritual preparation. Roman memory practices during contemplative periods involved the systematic cultivation of recollection as a spiritual discipline that connects present experience with accumulated wisdom and insight. Through techniques like the method of loci, practitioners develop the ability to store and retrieve vast amounts of philosophical, poetic, and practical knowledge that becomes a constant resource for contemplative reflection and practical guidance in daily life situations. Roman community awareness during solitary contemplative practice includes recognition of the social dimensions of spiritual development and the importance of individual growth for the welfare of the larger human community. Even in periods of solitude and inner reflection, the contemplative practitioner maintains awareness of their connections with family, friends, and fellow citizens, understanding that personal spiritual development contributes to the harmony and prosperity of the entire social order. Roman technological contemplation includes appreciation for the engineering achievements and practical innovations that make comfortable contemplative practice possible, from the aqueducts that provide fresh water to the roads that connect distant communities, from the architectural techniques that create stable and beautiful buildings to the agricultural methods that ensure abundant food supplies for the population of the empire. In the deepening afternoon light that bathes the Roman villa in golden serenity, consciousness begins to expand beyond the boundaries of ordinary awareness into realms of experience that the ancient philosophers described as the highest achievements of human spiritual development. This is the sacred hour when the contemplative practitioner, having prepared through gradual stages of mental purification and emotional equilibrium, discovers pathways to states of being that transcend the usual limitations of individual identity and temporal existence. The Roman understanding of contemplative transcendence is grounded in philosophical traditions that recognize consciousness as fundamentally unlimited in its potential for expansion and deepening. Through systematic practice and patient cultivation, the mind learns to release its habitual patterns of grasping and resistance, allowing natural awareness to reveal itself in its pristine clarity and boundless spaciousness. This process is not an escape from reality but a discovery of reality's deepest dimensions, hidden beneath the surface turbulence of ordinary mental activity. Roman architectural spaces during these transcendent moments become transparent to their underlying geometric harmonies and mathematical relationships, revealing themselves as material expressions of eternal principles that govern both microcosmic and macrocosmic manifestation. The columns and arches that define the physical environment begin to resonate with inner structures of consciousness, creating a sense of perfect correspondence between outer and inner space that dissolves the apparent separation between observer and observed, subject and object. The Roman garden during these exalted states becomes a living symbol of cosmic order and natural wisdom, with each plant and flower recognized as a unique expression of universal life force that connects all phenomena in an intricate web of mutual dependence and reciprocal nourishment. The seasonal cycles of growth and decay, flowering and dormancy, reveal themselves as temporal expressions of eternal principles that operate equally in the realm of consciousness and the domain of material manifestation. Roman philosophical contemplation at this level transcends intellectual analysis to become direct experiential knowledge of the truths that great thinkers have struggled to express in words and concepts. The writings of Marcus Aurelius, Seneca, and other contemplative masters begin to reveal their hidden meanings as practical descriptions of states of consciousness rather than abstract theoretical formulations, providing roadmaps for navigating the inner territories that open to sustained contemplative practice. Roman religious experience during these transcendent moments moves beyond conventional ritual observance to become immediate awareness of the divine presence that permeates all phenomena without being limited by any particular form or manifestation. The household gods and ancestral spirits that normally serve as intermediaries between human consciousness and divine reality reveal themselves as aspects of a single universal intelligence that expresses itself through infinite variations while remaining essentially unchanged and undivided. Roman artistic contemplation at this level of depth involves direct participation in the creative principle that manifests as beauty, harmony, and meaning throughout the natural and human worlds. The appreciation of sculpture, painting, music, and poetry becomes recognition of the same cosmic intelligence that creates galaxies and atoms, mountains and flowers, revealing the essential unity that underlies all apparent diversity and separation in the phenomenal world. Roman astronomical contemplation during these transcendent states expands to include immediate awareness of the cosmic intelligence that guides planetary movements and stellar evolution, recognizing individual consciousness as an expression of the same universal mind that orchestrates the dance of celestial bodies across infinite space and eternal time. The apparent vastness of the physical universe becomes a mirror reflecting the unlimited nature of consciousness itself. Roman thermal contemplation during these elevated states involves recognition of water as a symbol of consciousness in its pure, unmodified state, flowing naturally according to universal principles while adapting perfectly to whatever conditions it encounters. The experience of warm water enveloping the body becomes a metaphor for divine love embracing individual awareness, dissolving the boundaries that normally separate self from cosmos, part from whole, temporal from eternal. Roman agricultural contemplation at this transcendent level reveals the profound spiritual teachings encoded in natural processes of planting, cultivation, and harvest, recognizing individual spiritual development as following the same patterns of patient preparation, sustained nurturing, and eventual fruition that characterize all organic growth and natural maturation. The cycles of agricultural activity become external representations of inner processes of consciousness transformation. Roman social contemplation during these exalted moments transcends ordinary concerns about personal relationships and social position to reveal the fundamental interconnectedness that links all beings in a web of mutual dependence and shared destiny. Individual identity begins to dissolve into universal identity, while personal concerns expand to encompass the welfare of all sentient beings throughout space and time, creating a natural foundation for compassion and wisdom that operates spontaneously without effort or calculation. Roman temporal contemplation at this level of awareness involves recognition of the eternal present that underlies all apparent change and succession, discovering the timeless dimension of consciousness that remains constant throughout all temporal modifications and sequential experiences. Past and future reveal themselves as mental constructions that exist only in relation to a present moment that itself transcends temporal limitations and durational measurement. Roman spatial contemplation during these transcendent states expands to include immediate awareness of the unlimited nature of consciousness, which contains all spatial relationships while being contained by none of them. The apparent boundaries that define objects and separate locations dissolve into recognition of space itself as an expression of conscious awareness, revealing the essential unity that underlies all apparent multiplicity and geographical separation. Roman linguistic contemplation at this exalted level transcends the normal use of words and concepts to convey information or express ideas, discovering language as a direct expression of cosmic intelligence that creates meaning and understanding through vibrational patterns that resonate in consciousness itself. Poetry and sacred texts begin to reveal their true function as transmissions of spiritual energy rather than mere collections of semantic content. Roman memoria contemplation during these transcendent moments involves recognition of memory as much more than personal recollection of past events, discovering it as participation in universal memory that contains all possible knowledge and experience throughout cosmic history. Individual memories become doorways into collective memory, archetypal memory, and ultimately cosmic memory that encompasses all that has been, is, or ever could be. Roman technological contemplation at this level of awareness reveals human innovations and engineering achievements as expressions of the same creative intelligence that manifests as natural phenomena, recognizing no fundamental separation between artificial and natural, human and cosmic, technological and spiritual. Aqueducts and roads become symbols of consciousness connecting and unifying apparently separate domains of experience. Roman contemplative silence during these transcendent states becomes pregnant with infinite potential, a dynamic stillness that contains all possible sounds, words, and expressions while remaining perfectly peaceful and undisturbed. This silence is not empty but full, not absent but present, not inactive but creatively potent, serving as the source from which all manifestation emerges and to which all experience ultimately returns. Roman contemplative light during these exalted moments reveals itself as the fundamental nature of consciousness itself, the self-luminous awareness that illuminates all experience while being dimmed or obscured by none of it. Physical light becomes recognized as a symbol of this inner illumination, while the interplay of light and shadow throughout the day provides a constant teaching about the relationship between awareness and its contents, consciousness and its modifications. Roman contemplative love during these transcendent states expands beyond personal affection and social attachment to become recognition of the fundamental unity that connects all beings in an indissoluble bond of mutual identity and shared essence. This universal love operates spontaneously and without conditions, embracing all phenomena equally while being limited or diminished by none of them, serving as the natural expression of consciousness recognizing its own unlimited nature in all its apparent modifications. As the Roman day slowly transitions toward its peaceful conclusion, the villa settles into those gentle rhythms that naturally prepare consciousness for the restoration and renewal that come with sleep. The late afternoon light grows increasingly soft and golden, filtering through the carefully positioned windows and openings in ways that create an atmosphere of gathering tranquility and deepening serenity. This is the sacred time when active engagement with the world begins to give way to the receptive stillness that allows the deeper dimensions of rest and restoration to unfold in their own natural timing. Roman household routines during these evening hours are designed to create a gradual transition from the more active concerns of daytime into the contemplative peace that prepares both body and mind for the regenerative processes of sleep. Servants move quietly through the rooms, lighting oil lamps that cast warm, flickering light across the walls while filling the bronze fixtures with oils that burn with gentle, steady flames throughout the night. The soft illumination creates an atmosphere of intimate comfort that helps consciousness release its grip on the details and concerns that occupied attention during the more active hours of the day. The Roman approach to evening meals emphasizes foods and preparations that nourish the body while supporting the natural transition toward rest and restoration. The cena, or main meal of the day, is typically served during these late afternoon hours when the heat of the day begins to subside and family members can gather in comfortable surroundings to share both physical nourishment and social communion. The dining room, or triclinium, is arranged with comfortable couches that allow diners to recline in positions that support both digestion and relaxation while conversation flows naturally among family members and guests. Roman evening conversations tend toward topics that encourage reflection and philosophical consideration rather than the practical concerns and immediate decisions that characterize morning and midday discussions. Family members might share insights gained from their reading, observations about natural phenomena noticed during the day, or reflections on moral and ethical questions that arise from daily experience. These conversations serve as a bridge between the active engagement of daytime and the receptive stillness of nighttime, allowing consciousness to process the day's experiences while gradually releasing attachment to their immediate urgency. Roman bathing rituals during these evening hours serve as both physical cleansing and spiritual purification, marking the transition from the concerns of the day to the peace of the night. The process of removing daytime clothing and immersing the body in warm water becomes a symbolic act of releasing the accumulations of daily activity while opening to the renewal that comes with rest. Scented oils and soft towels add elements of luxury and sensual pleasure that help consciousness settle into states of comfort and contentment that naturally support the transition toward sleep. Roman evening clothing is selected for comfort and ease rather than formal appearance, with soft fabrics and loose-fitting garments that allow the body to relax completely while maintaining appropriate dignity and warmth. The act of changing from daytime attire into evening garments becomes a ritual of transition that signals to both conscious and unconscious levels of awareness that the time for rest and restoration has arrived. Natural fibers like linen and cotton provide comfort and breathability, while warmer woolen garments offer protection against the cooling temperatures of evening and night. Roman architectural elements during these evening hours reveal their subtle psychological effects, with the substantial stone construction providing a sense of security and permanence that allows consciousness to release the vigilance required for navigating the challenges and uncertainties of daily life. The thick walls and heavy doors create an atmosphere of protection and privacy, while the carefully designed proportions and harmonious relationships between different spaces support the natural transition from active engagement to receptive rest. Roman lighting design during evening hours reflects sophisticated understanding of how different qualities of illumination affect consciousness and support the transition toward sleep. Oil lamps are positioned to provide adequate light for necessary activities while avoiding the harsh brightness that might stimulate alertness and mental activity when relaxation is more appropriate. The warm, flickering quality of flame-based lighting creates rhythmic patterns that have a naturally hypnotic effect, encouraging the brain wave patterns associated with deeper states of relaxation and eventual sleep. Roman evening entertainment tends toward quiet activities that engage the mind gently without creating excitement or stimulation that might interfere with the natural development of sleepiness. Family members might take turns reading aloud from favorite literary works, share stories and family traditions, or enjoy musical performances that create atmospheric background rather than demanding focused attention. These activities provide pleasant social interaction while gradually shifting consciousness toward the more introverted states that precede sleep. Roman garden spaces during evening hours become outdoor sanctuaries where the cooling air and emerging stars create natural conditions for contemplation and peaceful reflection. Walking paths are designed to encourage gentle movement that supports digestion and circulation while providing opportunities for quiet conversation or solitary meditation. The sounds of flowing water from fountains and the gentle rustling of leaves in evening breezes create acoustic environments that mask urban noise while providing naturally calming auditory experiences. Roman textile arts during evening hours include the preparation of sleeping areas with fresh linens, comfortable pillows, and appropriate coverings that support restful sleep throughout the night. Bed linens are changed regularly and prepared with aromatic herbs that provide subtle fragrances conducive to relaxation and pleasant dreams. The thickness and softness of mattresses and pillows are adjusted according to personal preferences and seasonal requirements, creating individualized sleeping environments that maximize comfort and support for each family member. Roman temperature control during evening hours relies on architectural design and natural materials that maintain comfortable conditions without the need for artificial heating or cooling systems. The thermal mass of stone walls stores warmth from the day and releases it gradually during cooler evening hours, while strategic placement of windows and openings allows for natural ventilation that prevents stuffiness while maintaining appropriate warmth. Braziers burning charcoal or wood can provide additional warmth during cooler seasons, creating atmospheric heating that adds visual beauty as well as physical comfort. Roman evening prayers and religious observances provide opportunities for spiritual reflection and divine connection that complete the day's activities while opening consciousness to the spiritual dimensions of rest and renewal. These practices typically involve gratitude for the day's blessings, prayers for protection during the vulnerable hours of sleep, and invocations of divine guidance for the challenges and opportunities that tomorrow may bring. The repetitive nature of traditional prayers creates rhythmic patterns that naturally support the transition towards sleep while reinforcing connection with transcendent sources of peace and security. Roman astronomical observations during these evening hours, as stars begin to appear in the darkening sky, provide opportunities for contemplating the vast scales of cosmic order that dwarf individual concerns while revealing the mathematical precision and purposeful design that characterize the universe as a whole. These cosmic perspectives naturally induce humility and wonder while creating psychological conditions that support the ego dissolution associated with healthy sleep patterns. Roman intellectual activities during evening hours tend toward review and synthesis rather than analysis and problem-solving, with consciousness naturally shifting from active engagement with new information toward integration and consolidation of knowledge and experience accumulated during the day. Reading favorite passages from beloved authors, reviewing philosophical principles, or contemplating beautiful poetry provides gentle mental activity that gradually gives way to the non-conceptual awareness that precedes sleep. Roman social preparation for sleep includes the gradual separation from group activities and conversation that allows consciousness to turn inward and begin the process of disengagement from external stimulation. Family members take leave of one another with expressions of affection and good wishes for peaceful rest, creating emotional conditions of safety and love that support the vulnerability and openness required for healthy sleep patterns. Roman physical preparation for sleep involves gentle activities that help the body release accumulated tension and prepare for the restorative processes that occur during different stages of sleep. Light stretching, self-massage with scented oils, and attention to breathing patterns help create optimal physical conditions for rest while signaling to the nervous system that the time for regeneration and renewal has arrived. Roman mental preparation for sleep includes the gradual release of concerns and planning activities that characterize daytime consciousness, allowing attention to settle into present moment awareness that serves as a natural bridge to the unconscious processes of sleep. Worries about future challenges and regrets about past mistakes are consciously acknowledged and then released, creating mental space for the creative and restorative activities that occur during healthy sleep cycles. The final transformation of the Roman day unfolds like a gentle prayer, as consciousness gradually releases its hold on the activities and concerns of waking life and surrenders to the mysterious restorative processes that operate most effectively during the deep stillness of night. The villa has settled into its nighttime configuration, with most public areas dimmed and private chambers prepared for the sacred journey into sleep that provides both physical regeneration and spiritual renewal for the continuation of life's eternal cycles. Roman sleeping chambers during these final hours of wakefulness become sanctuaries of peace and protection, carefully arranged to support the vulnerable state of consciousness that occurs during sleep. The bed itself is positioned to take advantage of favorable orientations according to Roman understanding of how directional influences affect the quality of rest and the nature of dreams. Soft mattresses stuffed with wool or feathers provide physical comfort, while fine linen sheets offer smooth textures that caress the skin without creating distraction or irritation that might interfere with the natural development of sleep. The Roman understanding of sleep as a sacred state rather than merely a biological necessity creates an approach to bedtime preparations that honors the profound transformation of consciousness that occurs during the transition from waking to sleeping awareness. This transformation is recognized as a daily death and rebirth, a cyclical journey into the underworld of unconscious experience that must be navigated with respect and proper preparation if it is to provide genuine restoration rather than mere physical rest. Roman bedtime prayers and invocations typically include requests for protection during the vulnerable hours of sleep, when consciousness withdraws from active engagement with the physical world and becomes open to influences and experiences that operate according to different laws than those governing ordinary waking reality. These prayers create spiritual conditions of safety and divine guidance that allow the sleeper to surrender completely to the restorative processes without fear or resistance that might inhibit their effectiveness. Roman aromatic preparations for sleep include the burning of incense or the placement of fragrant herbs near the sleeping area to create olfactory environments that support relaxation and pleasant dreams. Lavender, chamomile, and rose petals are particularly favored for their calming properties and their ability to create subtle atmospheric influences that encourage the nervous system to shift into the parasympathetic modes of operation associated with deep rest and cellular regeneration. Roman textile arrangements during these final preparations include the careful positioning of pillows and covers that will provide appropriate support and warmth throughout the night without creating restrictions or discomfort that might cause awakening at inappropriate times. The weight and texture of blankets are chosen to provide security and comfort while allowing for natural movement and temperature regulation that accommodate the body's changing needs during different phases of sleep. Roman lighting during the transition to sleep is gradually reduced to levels that support the natural production of hormones and neurotransmitters associated with healthy sleep patterns. Oil lamps are either extinguished completely or reduced to tiny flames that provide minimal illumination for safety purposes while avoiding the light exposure that might inhibit the pineal gland's production of melatonin and other sleep-inducing substances that the body manufactures according to circadian rhythms established through thousands of years of evolutionary adaptation. Roman acoustic environments during these final preparations for sleep are carefully controlled to eliminate sudden or harsh sounds that might startle consciousness back into alertness while providing subtle background sounds that mask potential disturbances and create rhythmic patterns conducive to the brain wave entrainment associated with different stages of sleep. The gentle sounds of flowing water, soft night breezes, or distant musical instruments can provide atmospheric enhancement that supports the transition into sleep while encouraging pleasant and restorative dream experiences. Roman dietary completion for the day includes attention to timing and content of final food consumption to ensure that digestive processes support rather than interfere with sleep quality. Heavy meals are avoided during the hours immediately preceding sleep, while light snacks that provide slow-releasing nutrients can help maintain stable blood sugar levels throughout the night. Herbal teas prepared from chamomile, passionflower, or other relaxing plants provide gentle sedative effects while adding ritual elements that signal to consciousness that the time for sleep has arrived. Roman temperature regulation during sleep relies on the thermal mass of stone construction to maintain comfortable conditions throughout the night, while appropriate bed coverings provide additional warmth as body temperature naturally decreases during sleep cycles. The bedroom may include a small brazier that can provide gentle heat during cooler seasons, creating atmospheric warmth that supports circulation and muscle relaxation while avoiding the dry air and combustion products associated with larger heating systems. Roman positional awareness during the transition to sleep includes attention to body alignment and support that will maintain comfort throughout the night while avoiding positions that might restrict circulation or create pressure points that could cause awakening or interfere with the natural movement that occurs during different sleep phases. Pillows are arranged to support the natural curves of spine and neck, while limb positioning allows for circulation and comfort during the extended periods of relative immobility that characterize deep sleep. Roman mental preparation for sleep involves the gradual release of analytical thinking and problem-solving activities that characterize daytime consciousness, allowing awareness to settle into the receptive, nonverbal states that serve as natural bridges to unconscious experience. Counting practices, visualization techniques, or repetition of peaceful phrases can provide gentle mental activities that occupy the conscious mind while allowing deeper levels of awareness to initiate the neurological processes associated with sleep onset. Roman breathing awareness during the transition to sleep includes attention to natural rhythm and depth that support the autonomic nervous system's shift into parasympathetic dominance associated with rest and regeneration. Conscious breathing practices can help release physical tension while providing focal points for attention that prevent the mind from engaging with concerns or planning activities that might maintain alertness when relaxation is more appropriate for the natural development of sleep. Roman muscular release during these final preparations includes systematic attention to areas of physical tension that might interfere with comfort or circulation during sleep. Gentle stretching, self-massage, or progressive relaxation techniques help prepare the body for the relative immobility of sleep while encouraging the deep muscular relaxation that supports cellular regeneration and repair processes that operate most effectively during certain phases of sleep. Roman emotional preparation for sleep involves the conscious release of concerns, worries, and unresolved feelings that might create mental agitation during the night or influence dream content in ways that interfere with rest and restoration. Forgiveness practices, gratitude exercises, or loving-kindness meditations can help clear emotional residues from the day while creating positive mental states that support peaceful sleep and beneficial dream experiences. Roman spiritual surrender during the final transition to sleep includes recognition of sleep as participation in cosmic cycles of activity and rest that govern all natural phenomena, from daily rhythms of light and darkness to seasonal cycles of growth and dormancy to cosmic cycles of creation and dissolution. This larger perspective helps individual consciousness release attachment to personal control while trusting in the wisdom of natural processes that operate beyond the reach of conscious direction or manipulation. Roman dream preparation during these final moments of wakefulness may include intentions for guidance, healing, or inspiration that can be received through dream experience, while maintaining openness to whatever forms of restoration and renewal may be most needed for continued growth and development. Dreams are recognized as potentially valuable sources of insight and healing rather than mere random neurological activity, creating an attitude of receptive expectancy that may enhance their therapeutic and creative potential. Roman protective visualization during the transition to sleep might include images of divine guardianship, ancestral protection, or natural sanctuaries that create psychological conditions of safety and peace that allow complete surrender to the vulnerability of sleep without fear or resistance. These protective images help consciousness release the vigilance required for navigating waking reality while maintaining connection with sources of guidance and support that operate beyond the limitations of personal knowledge and control. As consciousness finally dissolves into the mystery of sleep, the Roman practitioner surrenders to restoration that operates according to wisdom far greater than individual understanding, trusting in the cosmic intelligence that governs all natural processes of healing, growth, and renewal, allowing the night to work its ancient magic of transformation and rebirth that prepares the soul for tomorrow's new opportunities for service, learning, and spiritual development in the eternal dance of existence that continues whether we sleep or wake, dream or rest in the profound silence that underlies all experience and supports all manifestation throughout the endless cycles of cosmic time.